Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me here for this episode on nighttime eating. I'm really excited about this topic. Before I get into it, I want to tell you a fun food fact. Now, I'm not sure if you know this, probably not. Peanuts are one of the ingredients in dynamite. Well, sort of. So here's why. Peanuts contain an oil that's used in the process of making glycerol. Glycerol is one of the main ingredients in nitroglycerin, and nitroglycerin is one of the main ingredients in dynamite. So by extrapolation, peanuts are used to make dynamite. So eat peanuts at your own risk. Okay, so on to our topic. A little while ago, I surveyed about 150 people, and some of you may have been had taken that survey. If so, thank you. And in this survey, I asked, one of the questions was asking people about what time of day is their hardest for overeating and emotional eating, okay? And the results were interesting. It turns out that 55% of the people surveyed said that after dinner is their hardest time, after dinner and into the night. So nighttime eating, 55% of them said that's the hardest time. And 75% said from work on, so at the end of work on. So starting at 5 o'clock at night on. So that's still nighttime eating. 75% of the people surveyed said that's their hardest time. So clearly, if this is your problem, you're not alone. Certainly for me, my worst eating was always at night. During the day I was busy, I had things to do, places to go, I was distracted. But coming home at night, feeling a little lonely or feeling stressed or whatever, it's a really easy time to get into it. So what I want to do is cover 5 ways to banish nighttime eating. Now, I have I've created a cheat sheet for you that has 11 strategies to eliminate evening overeating, but I don't want to go through all of them here. It'd take too much time. So what you can do is you can go to the show notes on at healyourhunger.com for this particular episode on nighttime eating, and you can get the entire 11 strategies there. Just go ahead and jump over there and when you can, and you can go ahead and access that cheat sheet. And it's all in one page. It's beautifully laid out, and it gives you every strategy that you need to banish nighttime eating. But I'll go through 5 of them here. And the number one thing that you can do to banish nighttime eating, ready for this one? Don't skip meals. Okay, it's the biggest setup there is. And I know emotional eaters because I've been one. And in the mind of an emotional eater is this little sneaky idea that if we skip a meal, we're going to get ahead of the game. Okay, if we skip a meal, somehow we're going to lose weight. Somehow, or either that or we're going to save up our calories and be able to eat what we really want to eat, right? Sort of make room for that donut or those pastries or God knows what. But it never works out, does it? Because we always end up eating more than the calories we've saved up from skipping our meal. And also, when we skip meals, we're hungry at the end of the day. I mean, we get home, we open the refrigerator, and there's no closing it because we're famished, because we haven't treated our bodies properly. We haven't given ourselves the proper nourishment we needed throughout the day. It's such a trap, and I find that emotional eaters are the worst offenders at this. And again, a lot of times it's unconscious. We don't intend to skip meals. We're working, we're overworking, so we're at our desk and we're like sailing straight through lunch, not taking a break, not taking our needed break and time out and taking time to eat a meal. And at the end of the day, we're just completely depleted and we don't have the proper perspective and emotional and physical balance around food, and we go to town. And it's, to be honest, it's almost guaranteed. If you skip meals, you're going to overeat. And it's counterintuitive. You think if you skip meals, you're going to end up losing weight. But the fastest way to gain weight is to try to not eat meals or skip meals. Seriously. So, you've heard it said, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's really true, because when you get up and you haven't eaten for several hours, during sleep time, your body needs to be properly nourished. And flying out the door, with a cup of coffee and an energy bar, perhaps, just that doesn't cut it. And it's not good treatment of your body. You need proper protein. You need proper fiber. You got to get the vitamins and the minerals to set you up for a successful day where you have the energy you need to get the work done, to have your brain fire on all cylinders, to have the energy and just the capacity to handle the stress of the day. So don't skip meals. It's the quickest setup for nighttime eating. Next is one you probably don't want to hear about, but I'll tell you right now, and I might start to sound like a broken record here, but meditation. Meditation is one of the best insurances you can have against nighttime eating. And I'm not talking about meditation in the morning. I'm talking about meditation around 5 o'clock, like a afternoon meditation. And this is something that I was taught. Roy taught me to meditate 28 years ago, and I'm so grateful, because this has been my life and my lifestyle for my entire adult life, basically, where I would meditate in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then at the end of my work day or school day or whatever it is, at the end of your regular day, if you're on a regular type of schedule, around 5 o'clock, okay? And now, my body's ready for it. I mean, my body's so trained for meditation that I'm kind of wilting around 4 and I'm ready to meditate. But I'll tell you, that meditation is so beautiful, and it re-energizes me. But most importantly, it gives me balance around food at dinner time, okay? And I always say, with no empirical evidence whatsoever, but plenty of evidence in my own experience and hearing from others, that, anecdotal if you will, that you can literally shave off about 200 calories off of your dinner by meditating before dinner. And why do I say that? Well, you have to understand that when we're stressed out, and we've been carrying the burden of stress throughout the day, things are happening, we're displeased or pissed off or hurt or stressed or rushed, or how it goes. You know what every day entails, driving people or, kids around, or dealing with all sorts of stress. I mean, you name it, you know what it is. When you pile that on throughout the day, by the end of the day, you've got this heavy load. And typically what people do is they walk in the door and they're spinning from the stress, and they walk straight to the kitchen, they put their hand in that bag of chips, and before you know it, the chips are gone, right? Because what's happened is we use the food to bring us down, to slow that spin, okay? When we walk in with no way to sort of reset ourselves and reset our mood and our physiology, we use food to do that, okay? Unconsciously, of course. We're not saying, I'm going to slow down my spin and eat some chips, obviously. But what's happening is we're using food as really to sort of obviously anesthetize ourselves, but really to just calm down. Okay, they say smokers, a lot of reasons why smokers smoke is just because that's the only time they really breathe. That's the only time they take deep breaths, okay? And that's true with food. We use food to really tranquilize ourselves when we're stressed and when we're spinning from stress. So my recommendation is bypass the kitchen, go straight to your bedroom, set up a little place in your bedroom with a chair and a candle, or whatever you want, a picture of a, religious figure that inspires you, whatever it is, make a ritual out of it and have a place that's just sacred and for calming down and reconnecting with spirit, okay? And meditation doesn't have to have any kind of spiritual aspect to it. It just tends to, and it doesn't have to, but it just feels good to reconnect with your own spirit. It doesn't have to be a religious or spiritual thing at all, but just reconnecting with yourself and your soul and your center, okay? But wherever it is in your room that you can do that, perhaps you don't have a place where you can do that, lie on your bed. You don't even have to meditate. I mean, if you want to take baby steps, start with just laying down for 10 minutes. Horizontal, lay down, put some peaceful music on, or put your earbuds in with some meditative music and just chill for 10 minutes. I mean, I'm telling you, this will make a huge difference in how your whole evening is going to play out. Because when we make a conscious effort to slow that spin, to settle down, to throw off the stress of the day, then when we walk into the kitchen, we're in we're on an equal playing field, okay, with the food. The food doesn't have us beat anymore because it's like we have perspective and we're not using food for that de-stressing purpose. Food is just, it's dinner time. It's time to cut up the vegetables, get out the pans or whatever, the pot, and start cooking dinner. But we're on an equal playing field, and no longer are we searching for food to give us that de-stressing quality. And it just makes such a difference. And let's face it, I mean, it's going to make a difference in everything you do, and the amount of TV you watch, and how attentive you are with your kids, how present you are with your kids. If you've taken that 10 to 20 minutes to just refocus and recenter and get connected with your spiritual self, you will see a huge difference in how you're able to handle your evening and how much your evening is yours and not your runaway feelings, okay? The next strategy is about connection. Now, following on the same theme of taking on a whole lot of stress and having things happen through the day that we're carrying around with us into our evening, see if you can have a date with a friend on the phone, because everybody's so busy, it's probably unlikely you can do this in person, but have a buddy that you can debrief your day with. I do this with my husband. It may be your spouse that you do this with, or significant other, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, it could be somebody that you really feel like you can talk to. Sometimes your spouse isn't really going to listen. So find somebody that you feel like will listen, and give each other 10 minutes, like call it a 20-minute call, maybe on your way home from work even, but have a buddy system where you are debriefing your day and telling somebody about the points in your day that might have been tough, that might have been frustrating, that might have caused some friction or what made you afraid, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot that goes on through the day, and we may not be that conscious of it, but if you start having a buddy talk with somebody where you're consciously reviewing your day, you're going to get more conscious of the things that happen through the day that do affect you emotionally. Remember, people are saying that 75% of the time emotional eating happens at the end of work on into the evening. That means that they're eating over their emotions that they accumulated throughout the day. So you got to throw this stuff off. You got to throw the stress and the troubling emotions off. And what better way than to talk to somebody about them? Now, it may be a therapist, it may be a priest or a rabbi, whatever it is. See if you can do this, maybe even just a couple times a week, just to get used to it. It doesn't have to be a daily thing. I mean, that would be ideal, but not easy for everybody to fit into their schedule. But think about it. I mean, committing to having just a 15 or 20 minute chat with a good friend, a good listening friend, and take turns, 10 minutes for one person, 10 minutes for the other, and just sort of rattle on about your day. Oh my goodness, the benefits you will gain from that. most of all in the kitchen. I mean, the balance you'll have, because again, you're not using food to bury all that happened throughout the day. You've thrown that off, and now again, it's you and dinner, and it's no longer emotional support. It's just dinner, okay? The next tip is to eat a real meal. Boy, oh boy, how often do we just stand there in the kitchen and just nibble, okay? And this is just the worst thing you can do, because before you know it, you've eaten all kinds of calories and you don't even know you did it. I mean, it didn't even happen. You were just standing there. I find the more effort that you put into making real meals, the better. Put your food on a plate. I mean, scoop it out. Don't even put it if you got Chinese food, on your way home, take out a plate and scoop it onto a plate, okay? Get a real fork and a knife, or whatever, chopsticks, but make it real, okay? A real meal. Put a placemat on the table, put the plate down, fold a napkin, get your knife and fork on either side of your plate, and a glass of water, room temperature water, for easier digestion. And I'm telling you, making it real will count. You make the meal count, you ate, and it will help in your feeling of satisfaction and feeling like you fed yourself. I mean, that's what you're doing, is you're putting care into your meal and into eating a meal. You're acknowledging, this is a conscious meal that I'm having, and then it's real, and you feel more satisfied, like you actually had dinner, instead of just standing there and unconsciously eating, and it just has no beginning and no end, no start. I mean, it's just it's a whole different experience, but most of all, it's a self-caring experience. I mean, it's a little extra effort, but even if you're eating alone, it's important. It's important to make it real, make it a ritual. I mean, you're having dinner. It's a real dinner, and I think you'll really see how amazing that is. Do away with the bags and the boxes and get a plate. The next and final thing that I want to recommend is to go to bed. Okay, now I say this because it's the last thing we think about, right? I mean, it's absolutely the last thing we think about. Our night can go on, and I find that emotional eaters are the worst offenders, because there's something about being up at night with our thoughts and our feelings, especially when we're alone, when everybody else has gone to bed, and we start to get a little haunted by these thoughts and feelings, and then we start to distract. Okay, we get online, we're looking on Facebook, we're watching TV, we're doing all these things at once. We're correcting papers if we're a teacher, or we're doing extra work at home that we brought home from our jobs, and got the TV on or the music on, and we're eating, okay? And before you know it, I mean, hours have gone by, and I'm sure you know this. I mean, it's really, boy, it's tough. I've done it. I mean, nowadays, with the TV and all these cable channels and all these shows that you can binge watch, I mean, it's easy to just kill 3 hours and not even realize it. And before you know it, you're, turning in at 1 a.m. So it's really important to just go to bed, and and there's probably some time at night where you become bewitched. Okay, there's some hour, maybe if you're if you should be going to bed at 10, but you push it beyond 10:30, 10:45, 11, and then you're like, oh, the news is on, so I'll watch the news, and oh, Jimmy Fallon's on, so then you start checking out who what actors. I've done this is why I'm describing this in such detail. Who's Jimmy got on TV today, or on his show, or and then before you know it, it's midnight, and it's like, what's going on here? Well, it's too tempting to do that, and 1 hour rolls into the next. But especially, for emotional eaters, there's filling those hours and that TV time with food, okay, and that's really the best way to guard against eating through all that, eating through doing your work at night and looking on Facebook and watching TV. is to just go to bed. And this is, going to bed is something that, I have to really push myself to do. And if you have got kids and you enjoy the quiet of having everybody else go to bed, I understand that. I understand your need for that quiet time and that chill time, but it's a dangerous time if you're an emotional eater, okay? Being alone with the TV and with your computer and with the food. So take care of yourself. I feel so good when I, am disciplined and I just go to bed, instead of staying up too late. Because then you're tired, even if you're not overeating, while you're staying up, the next day you're tired and you're not at full capacity, and it's even easier to overeat during the day and then at night when you've stayed up too late the night before. So that's all I can say. The later a person, an emotional eater, is up, the lonelier they become, and the more likely they are to seek comfort from food. So just go to bed. So those are my tips. Nighttime eating is a big problem for so many, and there's a lot you can do. And please access all 11 strategies online at healyourhunger.com so that you can be fully prepared and fully armed with the best strategies that you need to be able to have a beautiful day and a beautiful evening and wake up. The best thing in the world is waking up having not overeaten. The worst feeling in the world is waking up having binged the night before. I mean, that's the pits. It's the absolute pits. I never want to feel that again. And I just hope that you'll take these tips to heart and take better care of yourself, because you deserve every bit of good treatment that you can give yourself. Okay, thanks so much. And please leave a review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. We want to get the word out about the Heal Your Hunger show so more people can access this information and have the freedom that they deserve. Thank you so much. Take care.
If you enjoyed this show and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.